And then I can just pick up these little rubber balls, or I can pluck them out of the target. Just like that. And then I just put them in this little jar over here. The magazine, I just have a little canister of rubber balls over here, and I just reload that magazine, get gas back up.
This has advantages not just in cold weather training, but also in times back a few weeks ago, we did a video about the importance of having training guns. I was in that video. It's primarily talking about my Smith & Wesson M&P 1522. And I did give a honorable mention to this guy in that video, but in that video I promised I would do a video specific to this. One of the other advantages to having something like this is in times of ammunition scarcity, or when price gouging is going on with ammunition because of like whatever political talking point at the time has driven the gun industry into a tailspin, I can always shoot with this. I can always use this. This isn't connected to the volatility of the ammunition market, because CO2 cartridges, like, this is the last thing people are thinking about in a gun run. And these rubber balls, like I said, I typically reuse those. I only have the one container of 430, and I've just been continually reusing that for about 2 years now. So that's a huge advantage there, just being able to reuse that, and all I need is a few CO2 cartridges. Bob's your uncle. Now, something else that this is really beneficial for is training others as well. I can have my wife come out in the garage with me for like 5 minutes and do some drills. And we're not beholden to, like, you know, driving 10 to 15 minutes, half an hour to the range and like bringing all this gear, unpacking everything, and then going through a few drills. And then she's like tired and annoyed and ready to go home. And then it's like 15, 20 minutes, half hour back to the house. And then I have to unpack all my crap, whatever. I just walk out in the garage with a pocket full of CO2 cartridges and this guy and my eye protection. And like, I can train for 20, 30 minutes, an hour, however I want, or however long I want. And I can be like, hey babe, come out here. And then, like, you know, have her train for 5 minutes. And then she becomes a more effective force multiplier as well, with like really no adverse input into it. Something else I do with this as far as training other people, I am in charge of a church security team in my hometown, and I'll actually use this once a year, this trainer pistol, to conduct active shooter drills. It's sad to say that even in houses of worship these days, like, you need to actually think about stuff like that, but it's an undeniable reality. There was just a church shooting this year in 2025 at the there was a Mormon church, I believe in Michigan, that had some dude come in and shoot up the place. So it's a consideration. So once a year we'll do an active shooter drill, and I'll give each of my teammates an opportunity to run through some scenarios in a safe environment, setting up different drills to run through to make sure that, number one, they're getting those good repetitions of drawing a pistol from the holster, and then engaging a shoot or no shoot environment. Sometimes I'll set the target up and I won't put a gun on it, and then the student will have to work through that situation and identify whether or not the bad guy has a gun and whether or not they should engage. So they'll have to think through it. And there's also the stress inoculation factor of discharging a gun inside of the church. That is definitely something that a lot of people struggle with or will have to work through. So doing that in a training environment with a training pistol, just to kind of like start that mental journey, that's a huge thing. It's bigger than you might realize. Being able to kind of check the box, kind of crawl, walk, run your way to being able to be capable in that environment. One of the other things that I really like about this thing is I can use paint pellets, and I can run through force-on-force scenarios with friends. In an environment like that, where you're actually shooting projectiles back and forth at each other, safety is paramount, and the training gets so much better with three things going on. You've got to have one of these, and it gets better if you have another one. So you have a training pistol, and your opponent has a training pistol. And then you have another third person that is managing the scenarios. Otherwise, doing force-on-force training will inevitably devolve into a grown man's paintball match. Dudes having fun, screwing around, and the training value kind of disintegrates if it's not being managed, all right? Safety's paramount there. Make sure everyone's wearing a paintball mask and a nut cup. I know it sounds weird to think about, but you should really be wearing a nut cup when you're shooting at each other with this thing. Something else that you must do when you're doing force-on-force training one against another is you need to do safety pat-downs and make sure that no one has an actual live gun on them. What I've typically done in my garage when I have some of my buddies come over, and we'll use this trainer pistol. Even if we're just shooting a target, we'll do safety pat-downs on one another. We'll put our live concealed carry guns in a drawer in my shop, and then we'll just take turns using this thing on the target, doing different drills. We could do force-on-force training if everyone has paintball masks. My group of guys, we need to get one more of these so that we can do live force-on-force on each other with the paint marking rounds. I'm just saying that is definitely something that you can do with this tool because it is so versatile.
Getting creative, working cover and concealment with my kid's sled over here. Slide even locks back.
And that will really help you guys make sure that you can stay sharp in the winter. Come springtime, you don't need to like go and knock off the rust. You're just you're staying dangerous year round. So